it sucks whenever people get cut. 100% doesn't mean the story's over. For a lot of those guys, it is, but the initial 53 is going to change immediately like that because they're going to be moving, like Ray McLeod, for example. He's going to make the initial 53-man roster. Then he's going on IR. Then we'll bring somebody else in. And so it's going to be in flux. It's going to be a lot of, churning of this roster and things like that. So just because somebody gets cut, it does suck and it is terrible. Be empathetic to that. Doesn't mean the story's over. Milo, what's up, Eddie? Says, good day to all the faithful from Sydney, Australia. Ooh, love to see that, man. Now, if we're sticking with this idea of cuts, you're at 90, you got to get to 53. You still got 31 more cuts to go. Now, last night, we had our Zoom hangout, which was really, really cool. With what which I call the brain trust. And we go through and we vote through all these different players and different roster spots. They came up with the 53-man roster that I love. Disagree with some of the decisions. Just a couple tidbits from that. The brain trust, they're only keeping two. So they decided to cut Brandon Allen, which I like that decision personally. Speaking of, what's up, Sin? She was by far one of the ones there that was incredible. Going to the running back position, that seems pretty obvious. Last year, the Niners kept 6 running backs. This year, I think it's only 5. The fact that they have already waived LeBourne and all those guys, and they're gone. CMC, Juice, Mitchell, Mason, TDP. I don't know who else. Maybe Jack Coletto, which that was probably one of the difficult decisions for us because when we were done with the 53, these are the people that were right on the fringe. Danny Gray, Jack Coletto, Charlie Warner, Alex Barrett, and Deshaun Jameson. They chose to stay away from number 22. I wore my Longhorn shirt today, but yeah, it's rough. But whenever you're looking at these rosters, like you've got, it's a twofold conversation. One, who's going to make this a better team? Two, who's going to get claimed by others? And you have to kind of play this, he's not going to make it back. He will make it back. Maybe he'll make it back conversation. There's a lot that goes into this. Marco says, what's the deal with Luter Jr.? Is he eligible for the PUP or would he go on IR? So he would be a PUP candidate. And this is one of the distinctions that I think people struggle with a lot. To qualify for the PUP, there's only one player on the roster for the 49ers that qualifies, and it's Darrell Luter Jr. You have to start training camp on the physically unable to perform list. He did. Mitch Wisnowski did. Those were the only two. You have to stay on that PUP the entirety all the way up to the 53-man roster, which he has done. So he can go straight on the PUP. Does not count against the 53. The 49ers could activate him at any point after 4 weeks. He has to miss 4 games. Very similar to what they did with Kalia Davis on the NFI, non-football injury list last year. But the NFI and the PUP are the exact same as far as roster limitations. The only difference is one gets paid a little more than the other. PUP, it's better to be on the PUP than the NFI. So hopefully that clears that up. So you get to keep Darrell Luter Jr. He will not cost against a 53. He's the only player for the 49ers that's eligible to go on the PUP because Mitch Wisnowski came off. If you come off the PUP for a day and go back on, you're not eligible for the PUP reserve, which is what takes place during the season. I hope that makes sense. Josh says, Zakel should be the first one cut. Yeah, he had a terrible camp. He had a terrible preseason. I think that he will be cut. I also think that the 49ers might keep him. A couple players that I thought jumped up, and this is where it gets tough for me. Offensive line is definitely not amazing. It's not great, Bob, but I don't think it's bad either. And the first preseason game was scary because Matt Pryor played terrible. John Feliciano played terrible. Zakel was bad. Poe was bad. It was just like everybody's bad. That's not a starter. I think a lot of those guys elevated their play. I think the last O-line roster spot comes down to one of 2 guys. And I'm going to ask you guys this. I want to hear your opinion. I want you to put this up in the chat. The last spot, you got to choose one of these and only one. Ilm Manning, the undrafted free agent out of Hawaii. They say they want him at guard. They had a couple injuries, put him out at tackle. He was incredible. He'd be the smallest tackle in the NFL by a considerable margin. And the Niners came out and said, long term, yeah, we want him back at guard. But what are you going to do? Is he going to play ahead of Feliciano? Do you keep him a tackle? Whatever else. Somebody that I think actually has a legit chance to have playing time is Keith Ishmael, who's a journeyman, probably a little easier to get back on the practice squad. But, he was the number 3 center, and they moved him to guard to see if he could have that, versatility, which he hasn't had in his career. Holy cow. I thought Keith Ishmael put up back-to-back huge games at guard and center. That is somebody that I really, really want to keep. So my question to you, you only get to pick one, Ilm Manning or Keith Ishmael. Which one would you prefer to keep? We'll go through some of those answers here in a second. What's up, Rick? How you doing, man? Appreciate you, buddy. And, I think, oh, Randy, this is a hot take. Will Luter eventually be cornerback 2 this season? I don't think so. That cornerback position, the Deshaun Jameson doing what he did, kind of, you're allowed to just wait on Daryl Luter Jr. Again, I think Deshaun Jameson played incredible. Not that this whole year is wasted, but I do not think that they even give Daryl Luter Jr. an opportunity until 1 or 2 injuries happen at the cornerback position. And it has to be an outside corner because they want him playing outside. But with Ambry Thomas elevating his play, that made this move even easier to just put him on ice and just stash him. So, yeah, we'll see there. We'll see there. Right here, word on the streets, Bosa is looking for a 5-year, $30 million, fully guaranteed contract. If that was the case, it would be done right now. Again, where the rumors from this are coming from, I don't know, Gregus. I appreciate you, but that is cheap. Now, the fully guaranteed hurts, but Bosa should be getting closer to 34 million a year. Fully guaranteed, that's another thing. But 5 years, 30 million guaranteed, I would sign that right freaking now. Yeah, because that's Bosa would be a bargain in 2 years into that deal. And again, I'm always big on guaranteed contracts for studs. He deserves that. So I'd be so happy for that. Um, yeah. Milo, what's up, man? He says, is there something more to the Bosa holdout than we know? Otherwise, no reason it should be done. We have no idea. John Lynch came out and said Bosa and his camp want to keep this private. We agreed. We're going to do that. Yeah, I would sign 150 million guaranteed. I know you say yikes. I'd do it right now. Spread out over 5 years? Yes. Go do that right now. And man, that would be such a bargain 3 years from now. That would be such a bargain. Oh, now back to the O-line debate. I said Keith Ishmael or Il Manning. We got B and D. He says Keith. We got Manning. Manning. I'm liking all these. Manning for me. Ooh, yeah, this is good. This is good. So we're getting, a little bit of that stuff out there. I don't think you can go wrong. Il Manning put up some great tape, but he's so small. I don't know what team's going to want him at tackle. He's a small guard. He's 6'2". He's not even 300 pounds. Il Manning is tiny for a tackle or for a guard, let alone tackle. It's got to be a Shanahan scheme only that would be interested in him. I'll be honest with you. Kenny says, does Latu make the roster? Nope. That dude's going on season-ending IR. And that is the best thing for him. Probably not financially because he won't get paid the same. But that dude wasn't ready. Special teams was bad. Blocking was a little better than I expected, but again, he was the worst blocker in all of college football that was a tight end. He was the worst graded blocker of any drafted tight end. Receptions were terrible. Routes are good. His routes are good. And he had that one good game. I think that's awesome. But special teams and blocking, drops, fumbles, nah. He needs time to simmer. Just let him simmer. I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Right here, Josh says, I'm thinking he wants closer to 40 million a year. I would agree with that sentiment. I'd be okay. I'd be 100% okay with 30 million, but that's just me.